Hey everybody, in today's episode, it's myself, Eric, and Caitlin. This was a great episode. Caitlin is in England. We reached out to her via Instagram to see if she'd be interested in coming on. She's on Instagram as Sober as a Mother Focused, and we really talk about the fruits that a 12-step program has to offer you. So if you're a loved one and you have somebody that is struggling with alcoholism or addiction, this would be a good resource for you to better understand what a 12-step program really truly consists of. But before we get into this episode, I do want to talk to you about Family Reconnect program that is launching on June 3rd. This we are super excited for. We put a lot of time and effort and energy into this, and we're super glad to be able to release it to you. Again, we're going live on June 3rd, and where you can sign up for this is realrecoverytalk.com/FRC. Just plug in your email, you'll join the wait list, and then we'll send you more details of what this program consists of. But I know you're going to love this. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Eric. Hello, Eric.
Right here.
And we have Caitlin. Hello, Caitlin.
Hello.
Caitlin is on Instagram as Sober as a Mother Focused. I love that name. And I want to ask you where you got that name as soon as I'm done with this. First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use. And thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. Right, friends?
That's it.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Can hear you good.
Okay. Caitlin, do you have this mic?
I think I do, man. Is it work? Can you hear me okay?
I can. I just pull it a little bit closer if you can.
Is that any better?
A little bit. Yeah, that'll work.
Hold on. Do you want me? I can turn it up in the settings if you want.
This is neat to be able to talk to you, Caitlin, because I've been following you for almost a year now, I guess, as long as you've been doing it, like quite a while, like watching some of your clips and stuff. So it's neat to be able to talk in person.
Yeah, definitely. I've been following you guys too. So yeah, it's really nice that we'll be together like this.
So let's just jump right into it, Caitlin. Tell me the backstory of your name. I took it as Sober as a Mother Effer.
Well, yeah, me too.
Got it.
I love it.
Give us a story on that.
Yeah, that is how you're supposed to take it. Yeah, I think I was originally had it as my, my government name, and then I was thinking, what can I do it as? And then it's like, I'm just like sober as a motherfucker, and then I was like, hold on a minute, I've got something there. Play with the word fucker, and you've got focused, and then it's like got this dual meaning because. A mother focus, that is my focus now, is being a mom.
Yeah.
That's cool. How many kids do you have?
I have got 3.
Oh, yeah?
Of all different ages, a girl and 2 boys. And yeah, it's wild. It's wild. I'm learning so much in this 2.5 years that I've been sober. Sometimes my kids will say to me, why don't you just drink again? You'll be more fun. Like, you were so much more fun before. And it's like, no, do you know why you think I was more fun? Because I was being a lazy parent. Because I was letting you get away with things, right? And now this whole, how we get into recovery and we learn about boundaries. And then we start putting them in with our children and they're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's interesting. That's a... I don't know. That could be a first that I've ever heard somebody's children say, why don't you start drinking again because you were more fun? We could totally dive into that for a little bit anyway. Because I think that's powerful.
And I think it's interesting what you just said about that, because a lot of people, like if they go through a divorce, just normal people, they go through a divorce or something like that, and they try to make up for that by letting the kids get it, by not disciplining the kids, by just giving them things because they want to be liked. And it would be very easy to get sober and do that if all you had done was gotten sober. right? If all you'd done was put down the drink, you'd still have that real guilty feeling. And that's probably what you would do. But I think working a program, you put away that guilt and shame and you do the right thing, even though you feel that way, which
Well,
is pretty
yeah.
interesting.
Sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, they do say, putting down drink and drugs is just the very beginning. That's not recovery. That's sobriety, right? Recovery is about learning how to be a decent human being and doing the right thing. So that does mean that there's been a lot of waves to ride in this time that I've had. And look, 2.5 years, sometimes that sounds like a lot to me. Other times I'm like, Kate, you're just a baby. You're really, really new into this. And there's still loads more to learn. If you ask my children, they'd be like, oh, she's really annoying. Like, she's this and that. And I genuinely think that's because I've been a proper parent now.
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it would have been so easy. I think were times in the madness when I definitely spoilt my children in other ways because of that guilt that I felt, and I would try and make up for things. But I think at this point, the guilt is leaving me. I'm being honest, the guilt is going and it's being replaced. What's the word? With like accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got a job to do and the most important job out there, and you have to show up for it regardless of what you did in the past.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well, if you carry all that guilt and shame with you, it really hinders your parenting ability, or any relationship that you have, whether it's with work colleagues or your partner or your family. But for me, most specifically, my children, carrying that around was hindering me.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
It takes getting to a certain point. I think there's a reading. Is it in the Promises when it says about? Oh no, maybe it's not the Promises.
You won't forget the past, nor wish to shut
No,
the door on
not
it.
that one. It's it wasn't until I forgave myself that I really began to grow in my sobriety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was just sitting here the other day and I was like feeling really shit. And then something just came to me and it said, like, if God or the universe or however you want to see your higher power, if that higher power saw fit to forgive me and give me a second chance, then who am I to override that?
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
absolutely.
If God can forgive me, then I should be able to forgive myself too.
Yeah, and it's that I get asked that question all the time. In fact, a friend of the program, Johnny Rios, asked me that once a while back when I was on his podcast. And do you forgive yourself? That was the question to me, and I never thought too hard into that, whether I forgive myself or not. To me, that was always like a get out of jail card, a free card. Yeah, I forgive. All I have to do is forgive myself. Okay, I forgive myself. Right. But that's not, I commend that stuff to the mercy of God and I learned from it. For me, what I do is I take that stuff from my past. It's like a scale, right? All that stuff, all those people that I hurt, family members, other people, all the bad stuff that I did. And I use that to tell the next guy, hey, here's what I'm doing today. Here's who I was and here's who I am today. And hopefully over time, the good that I'm doing with that begins to outweigh the harm that I caused. Now, I don't know if there's forgiveness in there, but there's justice, right? And that's what as far as me forgiving myself, I don't really think about it. I do what God puts in front of me to be done today and know that I'm doing the right thing,
That sounds really similar to purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it is. I found my purpose today unequivocally, right? For me to be able to say at 53 years old, this is my life has always had and does have now a great purpose. That's the beautiful thing about recovery is we take that stuff. Look, people go to their graves never knowing what was wrong with them. Normal people.
Yeah.
We figure out what's wrong with us and we fix it. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we are the lucky ones. Whatever we've been through, whatever we've experienced, whatever we've put on other people, we're the lucky ones. And there's one of us, but we can help we can help so many people with our one experience. So yeah, okay, it wasn't great. It really fucking wasn't. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. But there was a reason.
Yeah.
And,
so I
and
got from, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you out. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say, like all of us in recovery, we go out of our way to help other people. The ripple effect of our one person's recovery is massive.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Caitlin, you had 2 clips this week that I saw after you did that podcast where you were a little down on yourself, right? You were down, that inner dialogue that we had talked about before. And I wanted to ask you about that because I mean, I still get that. That's alcoholism. That's the disease, right? It's our thinking. What happened, I'll use 10 years from when I relapsed. I was sober for 7 years. I relapsed and I went out for 10 years. And because I didn't know my truth at the time. I didn't have a program. I didn't know the first thing about it. But what happened in those 10 years that I relapsed was time went on, right? Life just went on for everyone else. And my son went from being 8 years old to 18. I missed it, right? So my disease today, that's the stuff that doesn't come back. And that's where my disease today doesn't show up as a bottle of whiskey on my doorstep. It shows up at 3:30 in the morning when I wake up in bed and I open my eyes and I think, man, I missed my son's graduation. What kind of father am I? Right? It's that thinking that still can get to me if I'm not working a program. And it sounds like you're going through something similar. I may be overstepping here, but it sounds like you're going through something like that this week. Can you talk about that? Those 2 clips?
Yeah, absolutely. You're not overstepping at all. It's actually funny you say that because my disease has been on me. Basically I recorded another podcast on Monday. It was the first one I did. And I came away thinking, oh my God, I wish I said this, or I wish I'd said that. And my head has been on at me from the minute I wake up to the moment I've gone to sleep, and probably during the night as well. You're not good enough. You're too old to do this. What are you doing? Nobody wants to hear what you've got to say. All the negative talk that we say to ourselves. And whilst, look, it was a big thing for me. It was new. Putting myself out there is not the easiest of things for me to do. It may come across in that way, but it's not the case. I do it to share the message that we do recover,
Right.
However, the preceding weeks to me doing this podcast on Monday, it's been the Easter holidays over here. And I really struggle when I'm not in my normal routine. I haven't been in a normal recovery routine.
Right.
So I wasn't in good stead to go and do something big and new anyway. And you know what? It might come out and people might be like, oh, do you know, it's great what she's talking about. Or they might have some criticism, but that's okay. I put myself out there. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't been working my program properly for a couple of weeks before that. I mean, I've gone hard, back at it. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? This is real recovery talk, right? And real recovery, let's be honest, nobody works a perfect recovery 100% of the time.
No.
And somebody who comes on and says, I do this, I do that, and my life's amazing and everything's brilliant now and I've got everything back. I mean, I don't buy it.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. And it's important that you talk about those bad things, because if you're the best day of my life guy, every day is the best. How you doing today? Oh, best day of my life, best day ever. All right, man, great. I don't know how to help you then. I don't know what to tell you. Good job. Right? Because I'm not buying it. And when I came into the rooms and when I came into recovery, I saw people like that. And look, man, I can read through. You can too. Any addict and alcoholic can see through someone who's not being genuine. Right? I came in and I talk about this all the time. Half the time I wanted to kill myself. The other half the time I wanted to cry. And I come in here and it's like, these people are, best day of my life. And I just didn't buy it. And it was important when I heard people say, no, I'm a year sober, I'm 2 years sober, and I had a crap week this week, or this happened, because that's real. It's absolutely 100% real. Life's going to kick you in the teeth eventually. It's going to show up. It's going to, and that's what happens. And I tell people all the time, prepare yourself for sorrow, man. That's coming your way whether you're sober or not.
Yeah, but like the big book tells us this is a bridge to normal living, and a normal life isn't perfect.
Right.
So, we're going to have ups and downs.
Right.
We're in recovery. We're going to have ups and downs. We're a prey to misery and depression. We're going to have ups and downs.
Yeah.
And like you said, I think it's really important to talk about that. Otherwise, it's quite irresponsible to say that everything's amazing, because you're not given a realistic view of what recovery is to people. And then when they are having a shit time, they're going to be like, oh my God, something's wrong with me. I'm not like them.
Yeah.
Oh,
you think they're doing it wrong. Yeah.
Out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do think it's really important.
Yeah. That's that line in that book that says we will lose our fear of financial insecurity. It doesn't say we'll lose financial insecurity. It says we'll lose our fear of it, right? That doesn't mean we're not going to be broke sometimes.
That is probably been my biggest fear in recovery. Like, we lose fear of financial insecurity. Well, sometimes I still feel fear of financial insecurity, okay?
Of course. And that's important to talk about. There's a lot of things in there, like you'll hear, Tom, you can relate to this. You'll hear in meetings, and it even says it in the book. It says, it makes us feel like we can't get angry. When it says the anger and the grouch and the brainstorm aren't for us. And anger is an absolutely normal human emotion. You show me a man who doesn't feel anger, and I'll show you a straight up sociopath. But I have an appropriate response to anger. I don't live in it. It's like when people say, yeah, but are you happy? Well, I don't know right now. Like, I'm happy, but that happy is an emotion. I don't live in happy. I'm content. Right. So there's all these things that they can make people feel like they're doing it wrong if they're not happy all the time, or if they get angry once in a while. Those are normal human emotions.
Yeah. Caitlin, let me ask you this. I wanted to ask you this, but that was good. Take us back just to 2.5 years ago, though. Like, what made you decide to get sober? Let me ask you this first. Had you ever attempted sobriety prior to? And if so, what did that consist of? And then take us to 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've got 3 children, so there are 3 obvious times when I attempted sobriety. I could have done better, but we won't go into too much into that. I think about 3 years ago, I really got to a point where I'd noticed that I couldn't go a day without drink or drugs, whichever drugs those were. There was a combination for me, and I couldn't go a day. I couldn't go a morning. And then it was like, I can't go an hour in the morning. And okay, this isn't normal. I've got a problem. So I decided, typical addict trying to moderate, that for January, I wouldn't touch drink or Class A's. And then February, I'd allow myself to. And then March, I wouldn't touch drink and Class A's. And that went on for a few months. But what I really noticed is that my smoking of weed went through the fucking roof. Like it says, doesn't it? We swap one for another. It's what we do. But it was literally from the minute I woke up to the minute I went to bed. And sometimes during the night, I'd be smoking weed. So I was stoned 24/7. And it was really, really, really difficult to get that 30 days of no Class A's, no alcohol. And yeah, that went on for probably about 9, I think it was 9 months, because I came into recovery in September. And I think I was in my garden. It wasn't a rock bottom. People talk about rock bottoms all the time. I've had plenty and plenty of those. Those days didn't bring me into the rooms. It was just a moment of clarity, the gift of desperation, and a window of opportunity all at the same time. I was sitting there, out there, smoking, and I just thought, I can't live my life like this anymore. It was like an internal snap. I can't do this anymore. I'm going to have to do something about it. I've proved to myself that I can't do it by myself. I've proved to myself that I can't trust myself, because I mean, I don't know about you guys, but there were many, many a nights where I'd be in my bed praying, God, please, please keep me alive tonight. Please let me get through this. I promise I won't do it again. I promise you. And I really, really meant it. You know, you could have lie tested me every time I said, I promise I'm not going to do it again. Nothing worked. Nothing worked until I found a 12-step fellowship. So yeah, there's no exciting big bang that happened. It was literally just.
Wow. What
Glad
were you
you
saying?
shared.
You were saying alcohol in class A's? Is that
Yeah.
like our
Barbiturates and
like
Is that what, Brian?
well, no, class A's would be like I think over here we call it Schedule 1, Schedule 2, Schedule
Oh,
3.
yeah, it's like Xanax and stuff like that, I think. All right.
Well, I think it's quite obvious that I did a lot of cocaine, so that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, me too. Whiskey and cocaine, that was my thing.
Yeah.
It went together like peas and carrots.
Yep.
Yeah, it's yeah, that was. And you know what's funny is that I really thought that was my biggest problem. But it was weed that I found the hardest to stop, because I had a lot of, thoughts that weed is medicine. Weed helps me meditate. Weed's good for me. It grows from the earth. Like, how can it be harmful? And also, it felt so good. Like, how could that be harmful to me? But whilst it might be medicine for one person, it's not for me. I can't control how much I use. I can't use it moderately. That isn't me. Therefore, it's harmful, and it had to go as well.
Yeah. Well, and for me, the thing about weed is, I mean, how do you use it moderately? Because you take one hit of weed and you're high. It's not like taking a glass of water. At least for me, if I take a hit of weed, I am altered. Like, I am a different person immediately.
Yeah, for sure. But what I mean is, like, I've got friends who can just get stoned once a month and then not obsess about it for the rest of the time.
Right. Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah.
I was extremely obsessive about it.
The disease of more. I call that the disease of more. That's what I've got. It doesn't matter what it
Yeah.
is. If I like it, I want more of it.
I want more. And I notice it still with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. I don't know about you guys, but when I came into recovery, my biscuit consumption went through the fucking roof, because they give them out at the meetings as well, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I ate so many biscuits.
We keep candy here at the place, and I had to stay away from it. I had to give up sugar. It was affecting me.
I've given up sugar now, because same behaviors. I'd wake up in the morning, be like, right, I'm not gonna overdo it today.
Yep.
Won't do it. And before I know it, it's 9 a.m. and I'm like half a packet deep in a packet of biscuits.
Yeah.
And I've started that off that allergy.
Yeah.
And I don't stop, and I don't stop. And it's like, oh, one more day, one more won't hurt. It's exactly the same thinking. So yeah, like you, I've had to cut sugar out.
You said something earlier about about that bottom when you were in the garden. I really like that you said that, because people, I've seen people get sober on a bottom that was that was higher than what they've had before. They didn't have to be homeless. They didn't, because it was internal. It was way down deep inside. That bottom was, I just can't do this anymore in here. I like that you pointed that out. That you've had worse bottoms. I think that's important to note.
Yeah, I hear it quite a lot.
Yeah, you do. I mean, it's one of those things. It's, they have to hit rock bottom. I don't believe there's no such thing as rock bottom.
No,
there isn't. And if there is a rock bottom, rest assured, I got a freaking jackhammer that can plow through the rock and make it deep.
Exactly.
That's for sure.
Exactly.
So for any of you listening that believe in the rock bottom analogy, throw it out the window. I believe that just as much as, well, don't they have to want to get sober in order for us to even, set boundaries or, uphold these consequences? In particular, talking to family members and loved ones, you hear that a lot from them. Like, well, they don't even want to get sober, so why should we even try? And it's like, well, the vast majority of people aren't entering into a treatment process or walking into a meeting because they're on a winning streak.
Right.
You know, we don't want to normally. But Caitlin, I jotted some notes down while you were speaking, and one thing that you said that was interesting was the recovery ripple effect.
Yeah.
Elaborate on that a little bit. You know, when what did you mean when you said that? And I couldn't write the whole sentence down, but you said something to the tune of recovery ripple effect, meaning it affects people kind of spanning out from us. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, look, we work a 12-step program, don't we? So there's the obvious, which is somebody sponsored me, I sponsor somebody else. They sponsor other people. They sponsor other people, and so on and so on. So there's that ripple effect, but there's also within our families, because when I'm well, that affects my family. When I'm not well, that affects my family. And it affects my parenting ability and what the values that I instill in my children. That has a ripple effect on everybody they meet. When I'm kind to somebody in the shop because I work a 12-step program, that has a good effect on their day. And usually people pass these things on without even realizing it. I made it my mission to say to every time I go in the shop, to say to the shop person, have a good day. And it's really funny because now when I go to my local shop, everyone in the shop has started saying, have a good day. And I'm like, I love that.
Yeah.
There's so many ways that recovery can have a ripple effect. I also, you touched on, I do my Instagram and I do TikTok, and, I get messages on those and of people saying that, that really helped me, that you said that and that you were honest, or that bit of advice that you gave, that really helped me. And if you help one person, you can't, it just does.
Yeah, it works.
You know how else to say it. Like, it just does have a ripple effect. It helps more and more and more people.
Yeah. So is that what you meant when you said is what you meant? I think when you said you had a post the other day about recovering out loud, right? And I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I think with recovering out loud, it's really important because, I'm sure in America you have a similar thing where we call it PI, so it's public information within the fellowship, right? And that is amazing. I wouldn't have found fellowship without there being a PI committee. But there are a lot of people that will look at something like that, see the word anonymous and think, fuck off, I don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really, really important for us to speak out loud in other ways. I don't know about your fellowship, but mine states that I can't say which one it is because I'm not a representative for them. If I fuck up, that's on me, it's not on them, but it could look bad on them. So I never say which fellowship I'm in. But if people message me and say, like, how did you do it? I will always direct them to a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hold a little bit. I agree with everything that you're saying. If you've listened to the podcast, we're very open about the fellowships that we're involved in. But it's to each their own, I mean, it's 12 step is 12 step, no matter which way you cut it. Whether it's AA, NA, CA, ACOA, MA. I mean, there's so many 12-step programs out now that, it's really I don't know. It's just, but I can respect that 100%.
The steps are the same. What separates us is the literature, really.
Yeah. And the thing that, the three of us we're fortunate enough to be in a position in a time of life to where we have social media, and utilized appropriately, I think it can be one of the greatest tools for people in their sobriety. We would have never connected had Eric not found you via Instagram. You guys started chatting back and forth, and here we are, you know? And obviously, we're going to share clips of this. You're going to share clips of this. And then it's just that it goes exactly back to what we were just talking about, the recovery ripple effect. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I even got a sponsee on Instagram once. You know, if I hadn't have been doing my Instagram, would she have come back to the fellowship?
Yeah. Well, we do a big book study that's on Monday nights, and sure, you've seen clips from it probably on our page, and we have a woman over in Australia, and that's how she gets, because she's kind of out there. She gets a lot from that big book study because she is a little isolated. It's really neat, I mean, to be able to contact people all over the world. And look, somebody said something to me one time. He was an old timer. He's like, I'm not a fan of the public recovery thing. And I'm thinking, you tell me if Bill W. was here today, he wouldn't be on Instagram? Absolutely he would. He wrote a book called As Bill Sees It, for God's sakes. Yeah, he'd be on Instagram for sure.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, yeah, he wrote this book to get it, to spread the word and to carry the message. And, this is how we do it in modern day times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's like, we have a saying, it's like, attraction, not promotion.
Yep.
So I think that's really important to remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And not try and sway anybody's journey.
Yeah.
Having said that, I will always direct somebody to a meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too that if your intent is to help, and that's what it is, it's going to reach the people that God intends it to reach. And if that's what our only desire is, to be helpful, right? And to do that, there's people who can't get out of their house. How do they find this stuff? I mean, you can go all the way back to the old Joe and Charlie tapes. You get them on YouTube. They talk about Alcoholics Anonymous. I think back in the, years ago, back when this book first came out and stuff, they wanted to keep it anonymous at the level of press because they would be overwhelmed by the amount of people that would reach out to them, and they wouldn't be able to handle it. That's where the anonymous actually came from in that. But to reach out and say, and to carry a message to who can hear it. Yeah. And you're right. It's attraction, not promotion. So you got to make sure you're doing the right thing, and that's why, like, even when we do big book studies, I always say, let's keep it on the book and not our opinion. You know what I mean? Like because that was my whole purpose in doing the big book study, was, what does this book actually say? What's it actually teaching? What is this message? When it says carry this message, it doesn't say a message or the message or some message. It says this message, which means they already told us. Right? I mean, so I'm a big book nerd.
No, I think that's great. And I mean, I'm not somebody who quotes the big book particularly often. I don't think you always need to quote the big book to portray what the big book says.
I don't know.
But I do love a big book study. And it's funny, when I first came into recovery, I was like, please don't let this meeting be an online study. Please, no.
It was the same way.
Having said that, and I've been through the steps twice with two different sponsors, completely differently, and found and seen and understood the word completely differently. And so when you do go into a big book study, whether or not it's somebody's opinion, I think it's always really good to read it and to hear it and see it through someone else's eyes and someone else's perspective, because you're going to see and hear things that you may not have picked up on before, and vice versa.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. To hear different interpretations of it. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. And even when I say opinion, just because it's opinion doesn't mean it's wrong either. Right? Like, everybody has their opinion, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong either. There's some really good opinions, So
we have to have a level of discernment. I say this all the time, that Alcoholics Anonymous is made up of very sick people. It really is. I mean, you got the worst of the worst, in terms of substance use issues, and Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, all of them. You took a bunch of people like us, crammed us into a room, and and here we are. So with that comes, obviously it's gotten millions of people sober over the years, and it's the most proven method in terms of sobriety, at least in modern times. I don't think anybody had anything prior to, but there's also negative aspects of it. But that's with absolutely anything. I've walked into meetings before and I've heard people, say the same thing over and over and over and over. And it's like, dude, change your lines a little bit. We got Chat GPT nowadays, you can change it up a little bit. So there is, I guess I'm speaking to people out there that are more, oh, AA, yeah, I tried that once. Tried that twice. Oh, I did. Yeah, I was going to meetings when I was in treatment, and that it didn't really work for me, Or, oh, my sponsor, yeah, nah, that tried it. Like, no, you didn't. And it's one of those things that because we're human and because humans make up the 12-step fellowship, there's going to be flaws. So we have to have a level of discernment and be able to decipher what is good for us and what isn't. What do we want to take? It's that saying, take what you want and leave the rest. But I like that phrase, and I also don't like that phrase because oftentimes people will leave things that they should be taking and take things that they should be leaving. And
self-will run riot there.
Right.
Yeah. So, it's interesting that again, going back to the three of us, we're across on other sides of the world, and we're able to, and if this isn't proof that a 12-step program works, I don't know what does. I mean, you're in where are you? England.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing is that
Florida. It's like, and I don't know how many countries is Alcoholics Anonymous in nowadays.
It's something like 72 or something like that. It's in
I mean, it's across the
tremendous
globe.
amount. Yeah. So I think it's what's so beautiful about this, and one of the blessings is anywhere I go from city after city, state after state, country after country, I can find you guys. And because I'm always going to be alcoholic. This is why we don't go our separate ways after surviving disaster. We're always going to have this thing, and I can always find you, and I say this all the time, your process is your process. My process is my process, just like your journey is your journey. My process is going to be my process within the parameters of those 12 steps. That's what I found worked for me, was those 12 steps, and that's what it is for me. There's other ways to get sober, without a doubt. I don't know them. I know the 12 steps. But another person works the 12 steps, and their process is different within the parameters of those 12 steps, right? But you got to find that out for yourself. And I say this all the time. You have to find it out for yourself, because just like your bottom was an inside job, so's your recovery. Like, it's on you to figure out what that is that works for you.
Yeah. I mean, I always say that, like, look, if you're an addict or an alcoholic, that is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Your recovery is your responsibility.
Yeah. I heard you say that before. I love it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Well, we talk about it all the time too, when we talk about, we deal with trauma here at the center that we work at, childhood trauma, all types of things. And it's like, that explains behavior. It excuses absolutely none of it. Right. And that's the same thing. It's on you. It's your responsibility, and that's the beautiful thing about a 12-step program, getting sober, is whether you have PTSD, all the bipolar, whatever it is, all these other diagnoses, the 12-step program is not going to fix that, but it's going to get you to a point where you can take responsibility for your medical care, and you can and you can go seek help for that, because until you get sober, you can't address any of it. None of it.
No. And I think that's a really good point to make because, I think we get sober, right? And we're on this pink, fluffy cloud of, oh my God, everything's amazing. It's brilliant. And then you get to a point where you are well enough to be able to recognize that actually you've probably got some other things going on as well that need dealing with. And I think that's where like people, I don't know if, this is your experience too, but I do notice that people coming up to a year start to really wobble. And I really feel like that's sort of in line with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it goes with the waves, doesn't it? And 2.5 years might sound like a lot to somebody who doesn't necessarily, understand our program, but actually there's still some things to work on.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And there always will be. I say all the time, look, for me, and I say this, sobriety is an attitude. And the book talks, it's a personality change, but it's really, it's a perspective. It's an attitude. It's a life. It's forever. Like when I signed up for sobriety, I signed up forever. And that means for me, I have to stay in this and I have to understand every day, because the further away I get from a drink and from that guy that I used to be, the easier it is. I can get spiritual. I can become, I've got reading books by Emmett Fox and I'm going to church and I'm doing all this stuff. And that's great. But I can forget why I did this to begin with. What the purpose of the 12 steps, I say this all the time, there's a difference between a purpose and a reason, right? The purpose is to affect a spiritual experience significant enough to bring about a psychic change. But that's not the reason I did it. I did it because I don't want to drink and drug anymore because I'm dying of it. And I got to always remember that, because the further I get away from that first drink, as years go by, the further I get away from being that guy that I used to be, the quicker I'm going to be able to fall for having a Grand Marnier with grandmother on Christmas Eve, because I'm not that guy anymore. Right. And that's why I have to stay in the middle of these steps and sponsor guys because I have to always keep that in the forefront, that this is my life now.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people, the old timers. I often hear them say, the longer you are in sobriety, the harder it is to stay spiritually well.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I see that in people. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's that's when I say, well, who are you sponsoring? Because it said throughout the book, and I'm a firm believer in this, if I'm not helping somebody else, then I get lost. Mm-hmm. If I'm not I get so caught up in myself if I'm not helping somebody else. I can chair a meeting all day long. I can speak. I like speaking. That's not self-sacrifice for me, right? And our book says the alcoholic who fails to enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice will not survive the certain trials and low spots that lie ahead. So for me, that's not self-sacrifice, but me sitting down with another guy and taking time. I don't want to do that. I have to do that.
I get that.
I don't want to listen to them.
Yeah, especially on a Friday night,
Yeah, right. Calling about their girlfriend.
It's like when your phone rings and you think, oh, I got so bothered.
Yeah.
You always feel better when you do, and you've helped somebody, so it's a win-win situation.
It works when nothing else does. It's really true that it works when nothing else does.
Yeah, and it says like the worse we feel, the deeper we throw ourselves into helping others.
Yeah. It's amazing, this program, the way it works.
So, Caitlin, let's start landing the plane here. What are meetings like over there? Are they the same as here? Are they an hour?
I have no idea if they're the same as there. No, a face-to-face meeting is usually an hour. So you'll start off with some readings, and then there'll be a main share, which is about 20 minutes long. And then we'll go around the room and put our hand up if we want to share back. And then there'll be some more readings at the end.
Yep, same.
A shitload of videos.
When you said public information committee, is that what you did the other night when you posted that you had gone to a detox or a facility and spoke?
No. So that was, you're talking about when I went into rehab.
Right.
And did the talk. Yeah.
We call that H&I, hospitals and institutions.
That's what that's it. That's H&I here as well.
So what's the public information?
Public information are the committee that get the name of the fellowship that I'm in out there. So, for example, they work with a website.
Oh, okay.
They make sure that
that's
yeah. And actually, they just had a really great campaign. I thought it was a great idea that when you take money out of the cash point and then you get a receipt, on the back of it had the details of the fellowship, which I thought was a really smart idea because I think we've all been to cash points very late at night against our will as well.
Yes.
And we don't really want to be fucking doing this anymore. And I'm still doing it. I'm still going through the motions. And then, actually, okay.
What's a cash point?
An ATM?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like that convenience store that's open all night when you need something in the middle of the night and they got an ATM in there.
Do you know what? We don't really have that. Maybe in London. Definitely not where I live. We don't even get food delivery where I live.
Oh, wow. I've never been outside of the United States, so I'm not. Have you ever been to the USA or no?
Kind of. I've been to Hawaii.
Okay.
And I stopped off at San Francisco in the airport, and that is it. But I would love to go to America. Yeah.
I really want to go to England. I really want to go over there. I've never been.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's like cold and rainy, which is not.
Yeah, but I want to go for the history. I want to go for the history. Like you guys have real castles over there. We've got Disney World.
We do have real castles, yeah.
I want to go see a real castle someday.
Oh, you have to shout me if you ever come over.
Yeah, definitely will.
So how far away from London are you?
Less than an hour.
Really?
That's cool.
So yeah, I from the age of 11 until 29, I think I lived in London, in Wimbledon, near the tennis.
Wimbledon.
Yeah, and that was the party scene was wild.
I'll bet it is over there too. We're close to Miami, so we got that.
So you understand.
Yeah.
What's you said earlier, you said shops when you would go in your shop, or were you just talking about like stores in general?
You're gonna have to remind me. I can't remember what I said.
You were talking about how when you would go, I can't remember if you said
you were talking about how you tell people to have a good day when you're out at the shop.
Oh yeah, like when I'm in like the convenience store.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Is that what you call it?
Yeah. I thought maybe you had a shop over there or something, like it was like your shop and
no.
Tom's an old mechanic. Tom's an old auto mechanic. So when you say shop, he thinks of the garage.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't own my own shop. It's more like I just gave myself this challenge to like make sure I always say to everybody, "Have a good day." And
do a good deed every day.
I noticed recently that like now everyone in that shop says it.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, I really enjoy watching your clips that come out, and I really, really like the way that you carry your sobriety. I think that you're helping a lot of people, and we need people like you.
I really appreciate that. I really do.
If you ever have any doubt in your mind, just know that you've had an impact on me. Just watching your clips, and I'm just one person, and I've been sober. I do this thing, so you never know who you're helping, but you definitely are. You just, like our book says, you stay on the firing line of life, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. It's good to know. That is the reason for doing it.
Yeah.
I got a couple other culture questions. We recently had a lady on. She was actually here in the studio, and she lives in Sweden. So I bombarded her with a bunch of questions about Sweden. So, you said biscuits. Are those like cookies or crackers or what? Cookies?
Nice. Yeah. Okay. And they always so many of them and so many, like such an array of such a selection. That was hard to say no to those for a while.
Well, full transparency, that's one of my biggest struggles is biscuits? Sugars and Well, the only biscuits I'm eating is if they got sausage gravy all over them. So like actual biscuits. Sausage
What's
gravy?
I don't know.
It's like a breakfast roll, I guess you would call it.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's a biscuit that's
like a
Okay.
yeah, like a
buttermilk biscuit.
yeah, like a
I'll Google
buttermilk
it.
biscuit. But I think you were getting hemmed up on the sausage gravy, which is it's like a gravy that you would put on mashed potatoes, but it's
Like,
got
okay,
sausage.
yeah.
It's a breakfast dish. Biscuits and
Yeah.
gravy.
Sounds delicious.
It is. It is.
What's the food over there? Like what is it? The extent of my culture in terms of other countries' food comes from Epcot at Disney World. They have an around the
What?
world. Epcot in Disney World.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Disney, obviously.
See, they don't
Yeah.
need Disney because they have real castles over there.
You
They
know
Yeah.
what?
don't need the Disney castle.
Disney, man. I used to escape into Disney when I was a kid. You know, the signs were already there. I would fantasize about being in Disney.
Oh,
Is
that's
there a
one of my
Disney in England?
I believe that they're in talks about building one actually, but
Oh,
not
okay.
at the moment. People go to Paris to go to Disney.
You know,
So
I
what do
think that
people eat
fantasy
over
was my
there?
first addiction as well.
Okay.
The what?
Food. Are we asking what food? Mate, that's a really random question, and I don't know how to answer it because it's all
food
normal
is
to us.
like
Like,
in America, it's hamburgers and hot dogs. Everybody knows that's like
okay,
the American thing.
Fish
What
so
and
is
you
it
mean
chips.
over
like
there?
British meals would be
Yes.
like fish and chips or sausage
Yes.
and mash or like a roast dinner on a Sunday. That's the best.
Did you just say bangers and mash?
Yeah, sausage
What is
mash.
that?
Yeah.
I know it's mashed potatoes, but what is the other part?
Sausages
Oh, wow, that sounds good.
and gravy.
Yes.
Not that, and
Wow.
I don't eat meat, so I don't know what any of this stuff that I'm telling you about tastes like. But
Oh, you're a
yeah,
vegetarian?
do you know what? 99% of the time, don't eat any dairy, fish, meat. But
Oh.
I'd be a hypocrite if I said I was vegan because every now and again, I cheat. And then I really struggle with that because it doesn't align with my core values and beliefs.
Oh,
And so
okay.
my conscience tells me you shouldn't have done that.
See,
And
that's
that's not my
honesty right
like.
there. That whole difference that you just made, that's honesty. I had a girlfriend one time that would say she was a vegetarian, but she wasn't. She was a pescatarian, which meant she ate meat, but only the most expensive meat on the face of the planet. Right?
That's really funny because I thought pescatarian meant that you only ate fish.
Yeah, that's what it well, it means. Well, I don't know if she didn't only eat fish, but she didn't eat meat. She ate fish. So she'd say I don't eat meat, but really she did. It just fish.
Yeah, to me that's not vegetarian.
Yeah. No.
That's
No. Well, this was fun. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. Really good to have you on here. And
thank you
really
so
love
much for
following your journey.
You know, I really appreciate you asking me, and it's really interesting to have the opportunity to speak with some guys from across the pond as well.
Yeah, that's what we were saying all week.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna well, first before we end, where can people find you?
So on Instagram and on TikTok, as you've so kindly said before, it's sober as a mother focused. Yeah, you can find me there.
All right, I'm gonna take us out. Don't hang up when we're done. All right, that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.